The movie begins with a woman named Ellen. Ellen had always longed for love, but in her deepest loneliness, she prays out to something dark, something watching. One fateful night, she whispered a desperate plea into the unknown, calling for a companion to fill the void in her heart. But what answered was not love. Instead, a vision of terror seized her, a monstrous figure looming in the shadows, its eyes gleaming with unnatural hunger. The sight sent her body into violent convulsions, leaving her feverish and scarred by the encounter. Though time passed and the vision faded into an unsettling memory, the mark it left on her soul would never truly heal. Years later, in 1838, Ellen had carved out a peaceful existence in the quiet town of Wisborg, Germany, alongside her devoted husband, Thomas Hutter. Thomas, an ambitious young estate agent, was determined to make his name in the world. Though Ellen loved him, she could not shake the lingering unease that clung to her, an ever-present whisper in her mind, warning her of something lurking just beyond sight. When Thomas was presented with an irresistible opportunity, an assignment to broker the sale of an ancient castle in distant Transylvania, he leaped at the chance, eager to prove himself. Yet, Ellen was stricken with foreboding. The night before his departure, she had a terrifying dream, a wedding unlike any other, where she found herself standing before an unseen groom, only to realize she was not marrying a man, she was marrying death itself. But Thomas, dismissing her fears as nothing more than nervous imagination, kissed her goodbye and left her in the care of his trusted friend, Friedrich Harding, before setting off on his journey. The road to Transylvania was long and treacherous, winding through mist-shrouded valleys and steep mountain passes. The further Thomas traveled, the more he noticed an eerie shift in the people he encountered. The Romani villagers who lived on the outskirts of the region spoke in hushed, fearful tones when he mentioned the name of his client, Count Orlok. Their warnings grew dire, culminating in a horrifying spectacle. At dusk, he witnessed a gruesome ritual, the villagers impaling a thrashing, blood-spewing corpse and chanting in fearful desperation. "A vampire," they declared. "It must not be allowed to rise." Dread crept into Thomas's heart, but some invisible force, some unnatural compulsion urged him forward. He pressed on through the thickening darkness, until at last he reached his destination. Orlok's castle, a towering relic of a bygone age, crumbling and desolate, standing like a sentinel over the abyss. The air itself seemed to carry whispers of forgotten horrors. The Count greeted him at the threshold, his gaunt figure and unnerving gaze casting an immediate chill over Thomas's resolve. Orlok was courteous too, courteous his eagerness unsettling. But it wasn't the property papers that held the Count's interest. No, his attention was utterly fixated on something else, the locket around Thomas's neck, within which rested a miniature portrait of Ellen. The vampire's withered fingers traced the image almost reverently, his lips curling into something resembling a smile. As the night unfolded, Thomas began to sense the truth that he was not merely a guest in this castle, but prey. A minor cut on his hand confirmed his worst fears when Orlok's demeanor changed, his hunger unmasked. The Count's supernatural strength was impossible to resist. With sinister care, he ensured Thomas remained weak, feigning concern while keeping him imprisoned under the guise of allowing him to recover. But Thomas was not fooled. Summoning what little strength he had left, he crept through the castle's endless halls, his pulse hammering with every step. At last, he stumbled upon a dreadful sight, Orlok's coffin. The truth lay before him, undeniable and grotesque. His host was no man, but a Nosferatu, an ancient predator that had stalked the shadows of time itself. Knowing he had no choice, Thomas seized a pickaxe and raised it high, determined to end the nightmare. But before he could strike, Orlok's eyes snapped open. The vampire rose with terrifying speed, his monstrous form fully unleashed. Thomas barely managed to escape, throwing himself into the rushing waters of a mountain river, letting its relentless current carry him away from the horrors above. By sheer luck, he was discovered by a nearby Orthodox church, where monks nursed him back to health. But there was no time to rest. He knew what he had unleashed. He knew where Orlok was going. Back in Wisborg, Ellen's peaceful days had already begun to unravel. Her dreams twisted into waking nightmares. her body racked with unexplained seizures, her nights plagued by eerie sleepwalking episodes. Dr. Wilhelm Sievers, the town physician, was baffled, convinced it was nothing more than an ailment of the blood. But when traditional medicine failed, he turned to a most unusual figure. His old mentor, Alban Eberhard von Franz, a disgraced scientist turned occult scholar. Von Franz, upon hearing of Ellen's condition, wasted no time in reaching a chilling conclusion. She was under the influence of something dark, something ancient. Count Orlok, a creature whispered of in forbidden texts, a being of shadow and hunger. Friedrich scoffed at the notion until Ellen, in the throes of her fitful sleep, uttered words that left no room for doubt. "He is coming," she murmured. "The black ship sails for Wisborg." The pieces were falling into place, but time was slipping away. Orlok was on his way, and Ellen was the key. The only question was, would she survive what was to come? As Count Orlok makes his way to Wisborg, he does not travel alone. Hidden beneath the deck of his doomed vessel, crates of earth from his homeland serve as his resting place, ensuring that his supernatural strength remains intact. But the soil is not the only cargo he brings. Within the wooden boxes scuttle countless plague-ridden rats, carriers of death, harbingers of a horror far greater than the vampire himself. As the ship nears Wisborg's harbour, an eerie silence falls over the town. Something is coming, something unnatural. Nock, Orlok's deranged servant, is the first to feel its presence. As if possessed, he falls deeper into madness, raving in the town square, his wild eyes filled with a knowing terror. He echoes the same cryptic whispers that Ellen has been murmuring in her fevered delirium. "The black ship sails," he cries. "The master is here." The ship arrives at port in utter silence. Not a single living soul is left aboard. And before anyone can make sense of what has happened, the rats spill forth, spreading from the ship's hull like a living plague. Within days, the town is overrun, and with them comes a sickness that no physician can cure. A wave of death sweeps through Wisborg, the air thick with the scent of decay and despair. The people panic, their fear manifesting in violent desperation. The name Orlok is whispered in hushed, terrified voices. By the time Thomas returns home, the town he left behind is barely recognizable. The streets are littered with the dead, their bodies burned in futile attempts to stop the spreading pestilence. Families barricade themselves in their homes, terrified of the unseen terror that has taken hold of Wisborg. But it is not just the plague that haunts the town. Orlok's presence is everywhere. Shadows seem to move on their own. And Ellen, his beloved Ellen, is slipping further into the vampire's grasp. Orlok does not simply haunt her dreams, he invades them, twisting reality into a cruel illusion. He whispers falsehoods with a voice both gentle and terrible. Thomas has abandoned her. He has signed divorce papers. She is alone, with no one to turn to. Unless she renews the dark pact she unknowingly made years ago, Wisborg will crumble into oblivion. She has 2 nights to decide her soul, or the town's destruction. And Orlok is not idle while he waits for her answer. His reign of terror escalates to unfathomable cruelty. In a single merciless night, he descends upon Friedrich Harding's home, slaughtering his wife and children in an act of unspeakable bloodshed. The loss shatters Friedrich, leaving him a broken husk of the man he once was. Overcome with grief and despair, he takes his own life, unable to bear the weight of his sorrow. With time slipping away, Ellen, von Franz, and Dr. Sievers work desperately to find a way to end the nightmare. In the depths of forbidden texts, they uncover a chilling revelation. Orlok is not invincible. There is one way to destroy him, but the cost is unbearable. Ellen must sacrifice herself. If she can hold the vampire in her embrace until the first light of dawn, the sun's purifying rays will annihilate him. But von Franz knows that neither Thomas nor Sievers would ever allow Ellen to go through with it. And so, with a cunning deception, he leads them on a false mission, convincing them that Orlok is hiding within his decrepit manor. They storm the estate with torches and weapons in hand, only to find Nock, the deranged servant, waiting for them. Mistaking him for the vampire, they slaughter him in a frenzy, believing they have won. But by the time they realize their mistake, it is too late. Ellen, alone in the darkened chamber of her home, has made her decision. With quiet resolve, She opens the doors, welcoming Orlok inside. He approaches her slowly, his skeletal fingers brushing against her cheek, his hollow eyes alight with a hunger that goes beyond blood. She does not resist as he pulls her into his embrace, his fangs piercing her delicate skin. As he drinks, his hunger deepens, his grip tightening. In his frenzy, he does not notice the first rays of dawn creeping over the horizon. The light touches his skin, and at once, the vampire recoils in agony. His body convulses, smoke rising from his flesh as the sun's embrace tightens around him. A scream unlike anything the world has ever heard erupts from his withered throat as his body crumbles into dust. Ellen collapses, her body drained of life. Thomas arrives just in time to hold her as she breathes her final words, a faint smile on her lips. The woman he loved has saved Wisborg, but at the price of her own existence. As the town mourns the loss of its savior, a heavy silence falls over Thomas. As the movie comes to an end, Orlok is gone, but his shadow lingers, a dark reminder of the terrible price of survival. The end. If you liked the video, kindly like and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell for more videos like this. Thank you for watching.